Okay, well, welcome back to our course, Writing 242 Technical Communication. This is our second chapter in this first section of the elements of technical communication. We talked about what it's like to be working in the technical communication workplace. And this lecture, we're going to be focusing on profiling the reader. To write effectively, you need to know who you're writing for. And so this is why we're going to have a chance to talk about that in this chapter. So we're going to help you think about a few things and learn how to motivate people to take action. That can be one of the key things that we're trying to accomplish in our writing. So we'll think about that, motivating people. Develop a comprehensive profile of the document's readers. So that's where we want to be having a good sense of that. We want to use reader profiles to make documents more informative and persuasive. We want to anticipate the needs of global and transcultural readers. Some of you, maybe even day one, you're going to have teams that will be literally all over the world, and you can have customers that are all over the world. So those are things that you want to be keeping in mind. So think about what motivates people to take action. So you can be thinking of needs, values, and attitudes. And needs, both fundamental needs and higher order needs, are things that people will act upon. Values that come from their community, culture, family experience, and things like that. So that definitely would be things that would cause action. And finally, attitudes about you, your team, and your company. If people really feel an affinity with a company or an idea or concept, they're going to definitely go after that. So creating a reader profile, you probably are going to have at least half a dozen of these that you would be thinking about. And so you're going to be making sure that once you know who you're writing to, then you can start to quickly and effectively use that. So this can be layers. And so that's what we're seeing here is you can have primary readers, secondary readers, tertiary readers, and gatekeepers. And so primary readers would be the action takers, the people that are going to get the action to do something. Secondary readers could be advisors, and the advisors would be the ones that would be helping these action takers or decision makers to do their process. There's a tertiary readers, these are evaluators, and so could have some technical advisors of one sort or another. And finally, gatekeepers, who maybe give a budget or the parameters for which a decision would be made. And so all of these are useful for you to get a sense of what's going on. So you want to identify your readers' needs, values, and attitudes. And so here you can have, like, say, a table if you want to be figuring out these factors and how they influence your document. And if you see that things come up a lot in multiple of these categories, and that's clear that you would want to act upon that. So you also want to identify the context in which readers will experience your document. Each reader is influenced by physical, mobile, economic, and ethical considerations. So once again, we can be laying those all out as we're starting to come up with these profiles. Then for the context of use, you can be thinking of the physical context. This is the place where the reader will use your document. So this might be that, are they going to use it on their phone or their computer? Do they want to rent a product? What is the way that it's going to come out? Mobile context, how will a document be viewed on various media? If you have multiple media, a document probably wouldn't be viewed very well on a phone, a smartphone, so you may have to have a slightly different rendering of that. So those are considerations that have to be made. What about the economic context, the money-related issues that will restrict the kinds of actions possible? Cost as an independent variable is something that I've had to deal with in a number of areas in my professional world. And then there's the ethical context, the personal, social, and environmental issues that shape the reader's responses. So you want to be using these reader profiles to your advantage. So these can help you to architect your document to be more informative and persuasive based on what you know about that audience. You'll end up having to make decisions about your readers. And so you want to be using your worksheets to identify key terms, concepts, and phrases, identify the need to know information, organize your documents to feature major issues, and make style and design choices that suit your readers' attitudes and values. For global and transcultural communication, you want to be anticipating the needs of these interesting readers that are global and transcultural. You may actually have folks even in a domestic type of project, but folks could be influenced or from another culture. And so these are things that we also need to be thinking about. So in a global and transcultural scenario, we need to be thinking about the context, the organization, the style, and the design. Cultures have different expectations about the content and technical documents. So you can be thinking of, say, like a Chinese trust relationship. Above all, facts are valued over attempts to persuade in technical documents. And so maybe you would have something like that kind of a scenario for documents that you need to be thinking about. You can have differences in organizational structures that say what we have might be different than what you would have in other places around the world. What we would consider as the way that you would greet somebody would not be the same way that would be the way that would happen in another culture. Style can be different. There could be beyond difficulties in translation, style is usually an important difference among cultures. And so that's something to be thinking of. Finally, the differences in design. Some languages are right to left, others are left to right. And even if we're writing in English, there may be some slight differences that would need to be considered. So just some things that you want to be thinking about. So for discussion question, which of these practices are universally accepted? Maintaining eye contact, saying thank you, and use of graphics or charts. You can be thinking about that, but actually the answer is none of these are universally accepted. Conventions and expectations are always culturally situated. It's important to think about your audience when designing communication. So the key to global and transactional communication, these strategies can help you navigate global differences between readers. Listen carefully. They could be communicating something to you, but it's going to be nuanced with the culture that they're familiar with. Be polite. Please and thank you. In English are always a nice thing to be using, so keep that in mind. Research the target audience, and so make sure that you're familiar with their sensitivities. Maybe there's some case studies, or maybe you have some colleagues that are going to help you. You want to avoid humor because you don't know how that's going to be interpreted by others, and also take advantage of the resources you have. Talk to your colleagues. That's always going to be a good resource. All right, well, that ends our second chapter. So thank you very much.